A very, very warm welcome to the esteemed panel of speakers, to the young boys and girls, and to all ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolute honor to have you all here for the much awaited TEDxYouth event hosted by Maa Anandmayee Memorial School, 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙀. I'm Arjun, and I'll be your host throughout this carefully and meticulously crafted event, specially for you all. I'm in the 11th standard from the Sandhya School. I'm also an active secretariat member in the world's largest youth run organization, which is IIMUN. I've been to countries such as the US, UK for different exchange programs representing India to tackle with various social issues. Also, I'm an ardent public speaker and debater, and also I'm connected to 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙪𝙀, to which I have taken up many projects up till now for the welfare of those in need. Now, ladies and gentlemen, not boring you all further, let's move on to the most awaited moment of the day. We have 8 experienced student speakers and 2 guest speakers amongst us with a variety and array of thoughts, ideas, and initiatives based on our themes of the talk, which are innovation and well-being. Because innovation is what should be the spotlight of the so-called 21st century, and it won't be possible without the well-being of all the humans on this earth. So beginning with the theme innovation, first up we have Aayan Agarwal. Aayan, currently 9 years old, is a young environmentalist. He has been working on shunning single-use plastics since April 2018. He started his campaign called Anti-Plastic Crew at the tender age of 7. He has helped save over 2 million plastic straws from landing up in our oceans. He became the youngest TEDx speaker at the age of 8 years, and has also delivered a TEDx talk at the prestigious Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies, Maharashtra. He's spearheading, ladies and gentlemen, to create awareness through talks at various institutions, newspapers, and TV channels. Now let's have Aayan over here. Aayan.
Yes, one. The Earth has a deadline. Precisely 7 years are left for us to take a measurable action to reverse, slow down climate change. After 7 years, it will be a burden of our doing that you, me, our parents, our children and their children will have to live with. This very thought gives me goosebumps, and I hope it gives you tremors too. Time has gone now to ask people if they believe in climate change. I think it's time to ask them if they understand climate change. After all, it's science and not Santa Claus. Once they understand the repercussions of their doing, their lifestyle, the urge to change that, make a shift towards sustainability will come automatically. So consider the rest of my talk as a sincere effort and hope that each one of you listening to me today will understand the harshness of the situation and get ready to take one step closer towards sustainable living. I read a news article in a leading newspaper that 52 kgs of plastic was removed from a cow's stomach in Tamil Nadu on 22nd October this very year. And it's no first time I read something like this. I felt so bad about the fact that how much of wasteland we have created, that these poor innocent animals have to face the brunt of our actions, our practices. And it's not just the animals that are becoming helpless. Us humans are also getting deeply caught in this destruction cycle. Air pollution, global warming, bushfires, water scarcity, plastic-filled seas, wastelands, now maybe this pandemic. I wonder what else is in store for us in the near future. If we don't change our way of living consciously today, choosing alternatives on some petty things, maybe tomorrow we will be forced to live without the basic necessities. Clean air to breathe, water to drink, electricity, extreme weather conditions, and the list can go on and on. You know it is for real that at some places, these pure air or oxygen is being sold at the premium. Imagine having to pay for your right to breathe. Like, where are we heading to? So let us start a journey towards sustainability and let that be the next cool thing in us, in the society. Let me tell you a few easy steps that you can take from this moment on and become a sustainer of the planet. Simply say no to single-use plastics. Most of us use single-use plastics mindlessly. Most of the single-use plastics are not just required and can be easily replaced with other sustainable things. I will elaborate on this point a little more. Let us say no to plastic straws. Firstly, we don't need straws for every beverage that we drink. But if you must, then use a steel straw or a bamboo straw. Whenever ordering a takeaway or home delivery, please mention not to send plastic cutlery. Let us understand plastic cutlery straws don't cost us much in money, but the cost is a huge deal when it comes to sustainability. We use it once and throw it, and it ends up on this planet for over 200 years, either in the form of dumps or in the stomachs of some helpless animals. If we refuse these things, the demand will go low and people will start focusing on making sustainable alternatives. Sharing is caring. We have been taught this right from kindergarten, but how many of us stick to it while growing up? Share your car. Make carpool the latest fashion. The less vehicles on the road, lesser will be the pollution and lesser depletion of our resources. Even better, if you can, then ride more and drive less. In a non-pandemic situation, I would have suggested to take public transport. But in times like these, I cannot strongly recommend until the situation improves. Educate people. Talk about climate change as much as you can. Every action counts, and if all of us take it upon our shoulders to educate and awaken as many souls as we can, we are sure that we would have made a difference and taken a step closer towards saving the planet. Volunteer. Start by being an example for others. Volunteer in community drives. Inspire people near you to take action and join in the crew. So you have a very big superpower in your actions with which you can save the planet. And your superpower is your choice. You have to choose to save the planet because we have no other option or no planet B. Remember to practice the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce what you buy. Learn to differentiate between want and need. Let us buy only what we need. This practice is easier on your pockets as well as the planet. How? Simple. The less things we use, the lesser waste we produce. Now we come to the second R, reuse. This can work wonders if done correctly. Learn to reuse the waste as productively as we can. I love in how many places people have made gardens out of plastic bottles. This makes sure that the plastic bottles are not condemned to the oceans. Instead, they are used to beautify our surroundings. So reusing the plastic waste around us in helping lowering down the plastic landfills and less pollution of our seas. Recycle. We need extensive recycling laws and practices in regards to recycling our waste. Instead of polluting our seas, if the plastic waste can be used to make a number of useful things like jackets, roads, spacesuits, etc. The only effort required from our side is creating the future. You know what's amazing recycling and segregating issues? There is a vending machine in most of the leading departmental stores where you can put your empty plastic bottles, and against each bottle you get a coupon that you can use in the store. The bottles are then sent to the recycling plant where they are recycled and then put to better use. We can have that here also at the micro level. So these were a few very simple steps that we can start taking right from this moment onwards and choose to save our planet. The earth is our home, and consider yourself as paying guests from now on. Pay back the earth by taking care of it. Help each other to stop ruining the earth and prevent ruining mankind in near future. Believe me, it's now or never, because the earth has a deadline. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ayan, for the eye-opening speech. Next up, we have amongst us Ayush Dangwar. Ayush is a student innovator who believes in using technology and innovation to solve problems around him. He had a problem which he wanted to solve. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's know more about the same from Ayush himself. Ayush.
Oh my god, it's paining. My leg is paining. I don't know how long it's going to be. These are some lines that you hear from your family members. You might be thinking about what might be the reason. The reason is simply that they don't have the habit of walking and they are a little lazy to climb stairs to go up and down. Why? You might ask. My name is 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙔𝙬𝙗 from class 10th of Maa Anandmayee Memorial School. I live in a village called 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙵𝙗𝑚𝑛𝑔𝑎𝑟 which comes under Rajaji Tiger Reserve National Park. I live in a joint family. There are 15 members in my family. We all live together. I am also a yoga enthusiast. The project that I am going to talk today is an overflow tank alarm system. To check the water level in the tank, of course, once you have switched on the motor to fill the overhead water tank, you have to go up and down the stairs at least 3 times to make sure that the water is not overflowing. At least 3 times a day, one has to go up and down to check the water level in the water tank once the motor is switched on. In order to avoid climbing the stairs so many times, some people choose to just wait for the water to overflow. The sound of the overflowing water is their warning to switch off the motor. Sure, they don't have to walk up and down the stairs again and again to check the water level in the tank, but it comes at an even greater cost. If you choose to wait till the water overflows, you will end up wasting around 4 to 5 liters of water, sometimes even more. This was the case at my house also. This problem made me think, and this is how I came up with my little gadget to help people at my home. I came up with my gadget to solve this problem in my families, like mine, and to help prevent the unnecessary wastage of water, a very precious resource. My idea was to make a water tank alarm system that is easy and safe to use, and at the same time affordable. So what did I do? First, I made a plan for it. I designed it. Then I started to collect the material which I needed to build a working model, and made a working model and tried it in my house. I did all of this when I was stranded at home during the lockdown period. I shared a video of my model it to our ATL in charge and our ATL mentor. Adult Tinkering Lab. ATL is a space where the children can conceptualize, experiment, learn, and develop different scientific ideas and come up with innovative designs and prototypes. They liked my video and they motivated me. Then they did a review of the project with me virtually. They gave me suggestions to improve my model. Let me share the video with you as well.
Hello everybody, this is 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙔𝙬𝙗𝙀 and today I have made overflow tank alarm system. This is the 5-volt charger for the resistance and I have connected a motor for hit the bow by which sound produced and we will be alert. This is the long wire which comes from ground to roof. And this is the bucket for demonstration. And when the floater touches the conductor part, circuit will complete and sound will come for the alert. Now when we remove the circuit will open and it stops. Thank you.
As you can see in the video, I used a steel bowl and a motor to create a bell, to create which is the alarm in my model. For sensing the water level, I made a float using thermoplastic material covered with aluminum foil. I made a gadget and fixed it at the top of the tank. When the water level rises, the float would touch the gadget at the top of the water tank to initiate the circuit to let the alarm bell ring. And this warning bell alerts the person on the ground to switch off the motor. The float meets the gadget around a foot below the top brim of the tank. It gives 5 minutes to switch off the motor. I may be adding to the laziness of the person. I am working to improve it. I am working on another unit for my school water tank. My teachers have praised my idea. My idea was also retweeted by Jal Shakti Ministry of Government of India. I faced a simple problem which is common to so many people, and my solution is a simple one. We all have things that disturb us and cause problems. What I want to tell you today is to look at it as an opportunity. And for me, innovation is finding a solution for that problem. Keep thinking, keep innovating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayush, for your innovative idea. I hope it really helps the general public for sure. Okay, next up we have 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙆 Murthy. So 𝙏𝙀𝙿 is a 14-year-old Bangalorean and also an entomologist. He is the 2 times Limca record holder for singing 260 countries' national anthems and also has made up to the list of top 100 Global Child Prodigy Award in January 2020. He is also amongst the top 10 child prodigies of India. Now let's welcome 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙆. 𝙏𝙀𝘿.
Thank you, Arjun. Love what you do and do what you love. Don't listen to anyone who tells you not to do it. You do what you want, what you love. In imagination should be the center of your life. Ray Bradbury. Singing anthems transports me to those countries, and I love the feel and respect of each anthem. I visualize myself as a part of their tradition and culture. This is how I felt when I started learning national anthems back in 2014. Good afternoon. My name is 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙆 Murthy, a 14-year-old Bangalorean studying in the 9th grade at Vidyashok Academy. And I call myself an anthemologist, a person who sings and studies anthems in depth. My journey as an anthemologist started when I was just 9 years old, and my music teacher introduced me to anthems to be played on the keyboard. And from the time go, I fell in love with anthems. But as my teacher could not help me beyond 4 anthems, Wikipedia and YouTube became my teachers. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And when you love what you're doing, the journey becomes fun and easy. And lo, I entered the Limca Book of Records twice for being the only individual to sing the most number of national anthems. I have been invited by embassies to sing their national anthems at diplomatic events. Felicitations, awards, and being invited as a chief guest started to follow. Being amongst many dignitaries and officials were truly humbling moments. Now, at one such event in Bangalore, I was invited to sing the national anthem of Kiribati to the president of the country, Mr. Anodita. Here, he mentioned how his country was going to be submerged within a couple of decades, and he urged us to help save this country. Now, that is when I got to know about climate change and its disastrous effects. Chopping trees and forests here, polluting the waters elsewhere can have an impact on a country thousands of kilometers away. After learning 260 countries' national anthems, I had to channelize my talent to be an asset to the society. When you're on the right track, the entire universe is working in your favor. Now, irrespective of my age, I got the opportunity to intern with a student-run NGO called Such, along with a few college students and CEOs of companies, where we practically addressed a few UN SDGs. 2 things that made me feel good during this internship was the environment and helping people. And that is when I remembered Mr. Anote Tong's speech. Eventually, I decided to focus on the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, or UN SDGs. From an entomologist to an environmentalist to a social entrepreneur, a journey I had never envisioned. I have conducted 2 climate strikes to bring about the awareness about to the youth and adults that climate change is a reality and we need to work to protect our environment in all forms, air, water, and land. As Barack Obama once said, climate change is no longer some far off problem. It's happening here and it's happening now. We have only one home called the Earth, so let's protect it. This topic becomes even closer to my heart as a STEM student at the New York Academy of Sciences, where we take up a real life problem, research, and find a solution to it. Some of the past projects I have worked on are intelligent homes in healthcare, sustainable chain of transportation. This year, I had the opportunity to be working on green textiles, where we convert non-biodegradable waste and scrap into fabric. Leading a team of 28 kids and empowering them on the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals last summer was a new milestone for me and has been an unforgettable one. I like to teach and inspire kids hands on to adopt to environmentally friendly habits from a young age. During this internship, I met many environmental warriors who have been working on the micro level of climate change. One such person I met during this internship was our very own late man of Bangalore, Mr. Anandmayee Memorial. As a part of the World Federation of United Nations Association, or Wafuna Mission Possible program, 4 of my classmates and me decided to take up a 4.1-acre lake revival project. Though we had the choice to take up any simple project, a lake revival really did intrigue us. Now, you must be wondering what 5 high school students, all of 14 years old, can do about the biggest problem Bangalore city is facing. Yes, questions were raised and this made us doubt ourselves. But Mr. Anand, he believed in us and took us under his wings. It was a challenge we took up as a team, and I must say, it has been one of the best learning experiences. From deciding the lake, which is the Mane Lake near Banargata, to budgeting the project to brainstorming how to collect 10 lakh rupees was a real life problem we were facing. Fuel a team, trainers, and how to collect 10 lakh rupees. And eventually, collecting 2 lakh rupees became each of our responsibilities. Now, that was just the beginning of a long drawn journey. We had to call up our family members and friends of our parents and explain to them about our project and convince them to donate generously. Again, not an easy task. In due course, one of our team members backed out of pitching in for the project. And this is when we were left short of 2 lakh rupees. This is when our mentor, Mr. Anand, swooped in and reworked on the plan of the lake, and we started looking for resources at the lake side to compensate for the shortage. And the 4 of us, we decided to work extra hard and collect more than our share of money. In the end, we were able to successfully raise 8.27 lakh rupees in just 1 month. We partnered with Rotary Bangalore in Janagar to be the wallet, and all our funds were diverted to them. Our Lake Revival project was initiated on December 5th, 2019, and the target was to complete the project before 10th January, as we had to submit our reports and presentation 1 week before our departure to New York City, where we were representing our project at the United Nations headquarters. Work was going on in full-fledged through the week under the supervision of Mr. Anand. But as we had to attend school, we visited the lake every single Sunday and on school holidays. Our mentor would take us around the lake and explain to us about the work that was being executed in our absence. And we would also work about the progress of work for the coming week. We would have a traditional village lunch prepared by the caretaker, and we would eat the healthy and organic food prepared with vegetables grown on the farm. We had our share of fun too. We would climb trees, enjoy the sunset before heading home, looking forward to our next visit. There were many firsts to this project. We were able to complete the lake revival on 30th December in a record time of 25 days. Lake revival was completed by 5 teenagers for the very first time. A 4.1 acre lake was revived on just a small budget of 8.27 lakh rupees. It was the first time a Wafuna project of that magnitude was completed even before its final presentation in New York City. It was the first time in the history of our school students had taken up a project of that magnitude. It was the first time Fuel Dream set a target of 2 lakh rupees for each volunteer. And it was the first time Mr. Suresh Kumar, our higher education minister, invited us to his office after reading about us in local newspapers. As they say, hard work always pays. We had the opportunity of presenting our project to Mr. Sairaj Burden, the ambassador of India to the United Nations, at his office in New York. On short notice, he agreed to meet our team, and he spent more than an hour understanding the project, and he even posted about us on his social media. Our parents played a crucial role in this lake revival project. Mani Lake is approximately 1.5 hour drive from our homes, and they would ferry us every single time we had to visit the lake. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. Benjamin Franklin. Now, let me show you a little video of the lake revival. March 2020 shook the world, or should I say, brought the world to a standstill. A lockdown was imposed all around the world. There were mixed emotions, and we were all adjusting to the new normal. But our frontline workers, like the doctors, the police force, the power kamikas, were working non-stop, putting their own lives at risk. This is when I got the idea to start WhatsApp Tambola Housey for a Cause, which had two benefits. This way, people at home would have some form of entertainment. Secondly, small proceeds of the amount used were for COVID-19 relief and those in need. Some of the social causes I used the amount collected were donated juice and biscuits to our police force as a gesture of thank you for the selfless work they have been doing. I then donated 3,500 rupees to the Innovate Club of Bangalore Blossoms for buying groceries to families in need, providing masks to the city police force, and menstrual cups for our city women police personnel. This is all an initiative of Innovate Bangalore Blossoms. Lastly, I donated 8,000 rupees to the Ruhiru Rehabilitation Center in Kenya, which houses 64 homeless and orphan children. We may all be having problems, but that should not stop us from making others happy and bringing a smile to their face. Remember, you are never too young to start an empire and never too old to chase your dreams. Identify your passion, work hard on it, and be ready to make the sacrifices and most take risks. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. These are the lessons I have learned in my journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yatharth, for this motivating speech. Next up, we have Sai Smaran. Sai from St. Joseph's Central School has a solution to a very pestering problem in this current situation and trying times. So let's hear from him about his IoT mask and the motivation behind it. Sai.
How many of you wear spectacles? Does it go foggy when you speak with a mask on the face? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sai Smaran, a class 10 student of St. Joseph Central, Mysore. I'm proud to present you a solution for a common problem of foggy glasses while using a mask during this pandemic. In the picture, In the picture, you will see how a pair of glasses become foggy when one speaks with a mask on the face. This is quite natural as the hot air from the air mouth seeps through the top of the mask onto the glasses and it turns foggy. What can you do about it? Though Corona has brought a new normal and a mask has become a dress code, it is not a fashion but it's a public necessity. No matter the nature of work is engaged, a mask has become inevitable. I love cycling and I do it every day. But the mask possesses me a threat to my smooth ride as it spreads a mist on my glasses. When I check with various people around me, they too face the same problem. I seriously thought of a solution and I designed an IoT based mask which helps the spectacles wearing community. In the second picture, in the second picture, there's an IoT mask instead of an ordinary mask. You see the difference. The glasses do not foggy. The reasons are simple. The mask is IoT controlled. The mask allows the easy flow of air and flows smoothly and soothes the breathing needs. It has an air purifier on either side, which helps in purifying the air. The speed of the fan can be controlled through your phone. If in case you have any network issues, then you can switch it to an offline mode. Please watch this video of the IoT mask.
My name is Sai Smaran and I'm studying in class 10th of St. Joseph Central, Karnataka, Mysore. And I've made an IoT based project which you can control through your phone. And in case you have any signal problems, you can turn it to. I'll be telling that what are the components I have used for making this project. I've used a mask, I've used a 9-volt battery, I've used a small CPU fan, I've used a Node MCU board, and I've used an cell holder, a switch, and I've used a sunboard. Now I'll show the working of this model. Connect it to my batteries. This board gets connected to my Wi-Fi. You can use your own internet also. You can see that the fan starts running when I increase the speed. When I decrease the speed, you can see that the fan gets off. If there's any signal issues or network problems, you can use it in an offline mode also. I'll show you that. You can see that the fan starts running in an offline mode. When I press this button, it gets off. When I on this, again it runs. But when we wear this type of mask, we get a fog-like thing and which sits on our glass spectacles. And when we wear this type of mask, we do not get any fog thing settles on our spectacles. Why? Because there's a small CPU fan which helps in purifying the air, and it has an this thing a purifier which helps in purifying air. And when we release carbon dioxide, the hot air goes towards right, and the fresh air comes towards the left, and the fans pulls this air towards the top, and it removes the fog. So this is the working of the project. I'll show you the demo. You can see that the fog starts coming. But when I wear this mask, you won't get that fog. As the hot air moves out towards the right and the fresh air comes from left, and small amount of air comes through here. You can see. So this is my project. Thank you, sir.
Well, friends, this is my invention. Looking at this problem positively, no problem is not big to solve, but it is an attitude that helps in innovative creations. Never evade problems, but embrace with the creative solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sai, for that wonderful speech of yours. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have our keynote speaker, Mr. R. Ramanan. Mr. R. Ramanan is the Mission Director of the Atal Innovation Mission, a flagship national innovation initiative of the Prime Minister and the Government of India under the Niti Aayog. As the Mission Director of AIM, Sir has been instrumental to date in the launch and execution of several nationwide innovation and entrepreneurship initiatives, resulting in 10,000 plus Atal Tinkering Labs being established in schools nationwide with 5,000 plus operational in 650 plus districts and over 2 million students having access to innovative tools and technologies like 3D printers, robotics, miniaturized electronics, and do-it-yourself kits. Also, 102 Atal incubation centers are being established in industry of fostering startups, and also 24 Atal New India challenges to stimulate product innovations along with ministries of India. Utmost gratitude, sir, for agreeing to share some invaluable lessons to these young minds. If you can have you, sir.
Thank you, Arjun, and good morning to all the participants who have logged onto this call. First and foremost, my heartiest congratulations to the young innovators who have demonstrated their innovations and their products. And what was amazing to me is the nature of the innovations as well as the particular problems that they took to solve. These problems are not just problems of a national nature, but it is of an international nature or of a global nature. And that is indeed the opportunity that young students from all over the world have to be able to express their creative potential and convert their ideas and transform their imagination into potential innovations that can help solve many problems the world faces. I would like to also congratulate the MAMS School for organizing this event and for encouraging young students into and launching them into the world of innovation and entrepreneurship. After all, we are a country of 1.3 billion people. India is having one of the largest young group of students and entrepreneurs and potential entrepreneurs to be able to make a difference. We have more than 65% of our country under 35 years old. We have 1.4 million schools in our country. We have more than 10,500 engineering and related institutions, more than 39,000 colleges, and we have 150 million young students entering into the workplace. We have what they call as a demographic dividend, a dividend that is the envy of many a country because we have a very young population and that's going to remain for the next several years. What is more important is it represents an energy and the ability to transform not just our nation, not just their own personal careers, not just their own families, but also the society in which they live in and the world in which we live in. For after all, the COVID-19 crisis that we are all experiencing today has shown how fragile the world is on the onslaught of unexpected global pandemics or potential climate change problems that we will face. A simple virus has disrupted countries all over the world. It has created national lockdowns. It has disrupted supply chains. It has created grievous loss of lives and livelihood. How do we now ensure that the future, not just in the COVID-19 phase that we are experiencing, but in a post-COVID-19 world, we are not beset with such problems that we are facing today? And that can only happen through innovation, through entrepreneurship, through new ideas that can help reimagine the world that we are going to be living in. And there are many things that is enabling this reimagination. First and foremost, there is technology, which is changing the very shape of the world that we all live in. It is changing the way you are experiencing the world and the way the world is experiencing you. All of us today are actually wearing masks, or most of us are wearing masks when we go out in order to prevent the COVID-19 problem. And what we saw on display by one of the young innovative students is an IoT-based mask, Internet of Things. Indeed, technology which is rapidly advancing and which is becoming affordable and which is becoming accessible to everybody has the potential to create great innovations that will solve not only the problems that we face now, but the problems that we will face in the future. Let's look at what are some of the technologies that are accessible to you young students. You know, you are 1.4 million schools. We have 600,000 colleges, schools in India, which are high schools like your schools. And all the young students in these schools have the ability through the Atal Tinkering Labs that we are establishing across the country. More than 5,400 Atal Tinkering Labs are now operational, and more than 10,000 will have been already selected. And therefore, you have young students a unique opportunity to tinker with and play with new technologies that are shaping the world upon which the solutions of tomorrow are being built. And what are these technologies? We are having 3D printers, which is changing the way you are able to conceptualize, design, prototype, refine, and manufacture a product right in front of your eyes, in the confines of your home, maybe, in the confines of your small manufacturing setup. You have IoT technologies, the Internet of Things technologies, and sensor technologies that is being integrated into man-machine device, into plant, soil, and space. And these are providing you valuable data and information that can be used and processed. You are having computing technologies and miniaturized electronics that can fit in the size of your pocket, but which is more powerful than some of the computers that existed 15 years ago. And through those advanced computing and communication technologies like 5G technologies, like wireless technologies, fiber technologies, and even satellite-based communications, you are now able to pump a lot of data from all devices, sensor devices that are integrated into man-machine devices. As I said, you're able to communicate them with high speeds. And then you have big data analytics and powerful computing technology, supercomputing, nanocomputing, and objective computing technologies to be able to process the data. And when you process the data, you're able to make meaningful patterns out of that data, patterns that would not easily be detected were it not for large computers and big data analytics and other advanced software engineering technologies. And as a result of that, you're now having robotics, which is driving the next degree of productivity and automation. So robotics is integrating visual technologies, sensor technologies, visual computing, as well as powerful processing to be able to automate many mundane activities that we don't need to do, but we can use our minds and our creative ability to solve other major problems. And finally, artificial intelligence is becoming a reality. You see, we always talked about artificial intelligence even 15 to 20 years ago. It is not something new. But never has artificial intelligence made more sense than it is doing so now, because of the tremendous ability of available, accessible, affordable, and advanced technologies to be able to process this incredible amount of data that is flowing through various sensor technologies and through various communication technologies, and to be able to make sense out of them and to be able to create solutions. Therefore, in a large country like India, for example, where do you use all this? You use it to solve many problems that we as a country have and the world faces. Take, for example, our country. What are the challenges? We still have 22% of our country below the poverty line. We have 44% of our country agri-economy based. We have 715 districts in our country, out of which 115 are aspirational districts. And these districts have great problems in having basic access to education, to healthcare, to clean drinking water, to sanitation, to waste management, to affordable housing. Now, some of the problems that you saw and I saw on display today are problems that are really solving these challenges. How do you create clean drinking water? How do you clean lakes, for example? How do you make sure that our rivers are eliminated of the waste that is being deposited in them from various sources? How do you prevent the chemicals and the pollutants that are not only infecting our waters, but also the air that we breathe through technology-based interventions? How do you deal with a lot of waste that is being created, not just physical waste, but also inorganic waste, using circular economy-based solutions? All of these can leverage technology. And therefore, these are challenges that we all have. We also have more than 600,000 villages in our country. We have only 8 tier 1 cities. If all the people from the 600,000 villages flock to our 8 tier 1 cities, it's going to be an unsustainable problem. And that is why the Atal Tinkering Labs that are being introduced in thousands in our schools, and your school also has one, is enabling a problem-solving, innovative mindset in every one of you. It is indeed heartening for me to find thousands of students like you who are now talking about how can we solve the problems that we see in and around the community, not just complain about them. You are becoming problem solvers, you are becoming innovators, you are unleashing that creative potential that you have and you have always had in you to be able to start identifying problems that you can solve and actually getting in small groups and starting to solve the problems. And remember that when you solve a problem for India, for 1.3 billion people, you're also solving for the rest of the world. So this is a very important transformative phase, an opportunity of a lifetime that every one of you young students have to create an impact, or what they call as a ding in the universe. You have the ability to transform and reimagine the new world of our dreams. You're going to be the architects of the future. But for that, you need to ensure that you leverage technology, not just for economic good, but also for social good. You see, a lot of the world is focused on startups, on creating entrepreneurial initiatives that can bring economic benefit. Nothing wrong with that. We need that. But at the same time, if we don't help to build bridges to the poor, to the economically deprived, to the digitally deprived, if we don't leverage technology to be able to address and create social innovations and social entrepreneurs, then we will not have a sustainable growth for any country or for the world. We also need to ensure that all our innovations integrate sustainable development goals, which have been defined by the United Nations. And I was pleased to see that every one of you who have created the innovation has aligned yourself with one of the sustainable development goals or more of them. That is absolutely required for the world to be a healthy planet, and a planet in which life can be vibrant for the future, for the next generation. And my dear young students, you are the next generation. So you have the opportunity to create the life that you want to live. You have the opportunity to become the change that you want to see, as the great Mahatma Gandhi said. Now, all of this requires you to dream big. And I'm very happy to see that most of the innovations that come out from the Atal Tinkering Labs, prototypes, they are after all prototypes. When you go to the universities, you will have an opportunity to create a startup, which is what we are doing through the Atal incubators. We are setting up hundreds of world-class incubators through Atal Innovation Mission in India that will foster thousands of startups. We already have operationalized close to 70 incubators, world-class incubators in India, in various states, in various districts. Now that is the place you all young students after graduating from school will go and have the opportunity to create your own startup. And every one of you should. After all, you have had the benefit of great education, of a wonderful institution in which you have been learning at the school. You have had the benefit of tinkering with technology in the Atal Tinkering Labs. And now you have become a potential innovator. So you should leverage that innovative capability and talent that you have developed in the school to be able to create startups and entrepreneurial initiatives when you go into the university and then when you start working. You see, we want to become not just a nation of job seekers, but we also want to become a nation of job creators. And you are the potential job creators of the future. We are also ensuring that many of the innovations that come out of the startup world, and we have today in the last 2.5 years, the 70 incubators that came up have started 1,500 startups, out of which 500 are women-led startups. And that is one more point I want to emphasize. I am very pleased to see that most of the Atal Tinkering Lab students who participate in tinkering marathons and tinkering fests and tinkering challenges have a sizable component of girl children participating in them and actually winning these competitions. In the last Tinkering Marathon that we held nationwide, we had more than 50,000 students participating in this Tinkering Marathon. We had more than 8,000 prototype innovations created by young students between grade 6 to grade 12. And we had 1,500 of those submitted to Atal Innovation Mission for our consideration. Now, the top 200 of these innovations were really quite world-class in its nature. They had problem solving irrigation management, using renewable energies, creating healthcare solutions, COVID-19 related preventive and assistive solutions. It was amazing to see how young students, when they are empowered and they are given tools and technologies to be able to create an innovation, how they excel. And out of these top 200 innovations, it was extraordinarily pleasing to see that more than 45% of the students were girl students. And that is something that we need to encourage, and we hope the Atal Innovation Mission will encourage. We have, like I said, more than 500 startups out of the 1,500 startups that have come up. You see, India has more than 55,000 startups, and we have close to 400 incubators today. That's an amazing growth of startups and incubators in a young country like India. And that is what is needed for all of you to have the ability and the infrastructure and the ecosystem to be able to realize your dreams and your creative potential. We want to ensure that we are creating one of the most vibrant ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship, spanning schools, universities, NGOs, industry, spanning every district, the 715 districts we talk about, and spanning all the states across the country, so that we create thousands of hubs of innovation and job creation. That is what India needs, and that's what the world needs. And I'm sure with your imagination, with these tools and technologies, with the community innovation centers that we are setting up across the country, many of your innovations, the ones that I heard, like the mask or the cleaning of the lakes or the solutions for smart villages and smart cities, these are all solutions that are needed in order for India to make progress and the world to make progress. There are many emerging economies where your solutions will have an impact. And when a good solution and a good idea has global impact. And that is why we have the opportunity of not only ensuring local ingenuity, but creating global impact. I do hope that every one of you young student gets inspired to become an entrepreneur, to become an innovator, to become a job creator of the future. You are all born innovators. When you were born, nobody taught you how to speak or how to stand, but you watched the world around you. You tried standing, you fell down, you tried standing again. Nobody could speak to you and tell you how to walk, but you started walking. But every time you stood and fell down, you innovated. And because of that innovation, you were able to walk, you're able to run, you're able to take part in national races. You're able to, some of you have taken part in National Olympics, and people like Usain Bolt have won the Olympics. Now that is all because of the innate innovative capability that every human being has. Unleashing that and not getting limited by your own self-imposed limitations is very important. And that is what the Atal Innovation Mission is trying to ensure. We are trying to ensure that every one of you can dream big, innovate, and create an impact, because you can. As the great Abdul Kalam said, dream big and you'll achieve great things. Dream small and you'll be limited by your own dreams. But for this, in addition to dreaming big, you need to have enormous belief and confidence in yourself. And as the great Swami Vivekananda said, if you have belief in 1,000 gods and goddesses, but do not have belief in yourself, it is no use. So have tremendous belief in yourself, dream big, have an action plan, assimilate knowledge, use the tools that are being given to you and you're being empowered with, create innovations, and you're on to making an impact, not only for yourself, for your family, for the state that you live in, or the country that you inhabit, but for the rest of the world. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this occasion. And all the very best to you young students. Tomorrow is Children's Day. And I do hope that every one of you gets inspired in order to make an impact, because it is the children of tomorrow who are going to create the world of tomorrow. All the very best, and a very happy Deepavali to every one of you. Thank you.
It was indeed very much thoughtful, sir. Thank you very, very much once again for joining in with us. I hope the youth has been surely taking in your speech and has been inspired by what your ideas are. Thank you so much, sir, once again.
Thank you.
Next up, now we move on to the second hour of the session with the theme as well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome our first speaker for the second hour of the session, and she is 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙆𝙍𝙍 Viradya. 𝙏𝙀𝙍 is currently in the 10th grade from Fountainhead School, Surat. She is actively working to create a platform for spreading awareness about mental health, especially amongst teenagers. And the goal is to expand the platform to make many wonderful tools, self-growth like mental models, fitness, meditation, etc. to available to anyone interested. Now let's welcome 𝙏𝙀𝘿.
Thank you, Arjun. So, having feelings does not make you a negative person. It makes you a human. 𝙭𝙭𝙍𝙍. Warm greetings, everyone. I'm 𝙏𝙀𝘿, and I'm here to talk about mental health and my perspective on it. By the end of this talk, you will learn something new about mental health and how to achieve a better state of mind. So, none of us have been able to understand the mind to its full extent yet. I guess that's why us Homo sapiens are quite unpredictable creatures. We never know what is about to happen within us, and what happens in the mind reflects our behavior and our thinking. This is generally known as mental health. When we think of mental health, it brings us to meditation and being stress-free, but it's not limited to that. Mental health gets a lot of recognition, especially now when the subject has blown up on the internet, catching the attention worldwide. Mental health refers to our emotional and our behavioral well-being. When someone uses the term good mental health, they mean to say that there is an absence of a disorder within them. Firstly, this misconception has to be cleared that when someone posts a happy picture on their social media, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're mentally well. We can mold what people see of us through social media. Everyone's life looks just so perfect. People look abundantly happy. We're all blameworthy. And that when you take the filter off, we all are miserable. So what you see on social media is what people choose to show you. And blindly you would think of them as contented as that post. Social media is indeed taken very seriously these days. So when wealthy people post pictures of their limited edition, expensive cars and mansions, people who can't afford a lavish lifestyle like them slow down and may fall into horrible disorders. We're just so lost in our screens, watching unnecessary content, keeping up with new trends and learning about others' lifestyles. And in the lockdown situation, it's just getting worse. We all are drowning in our screens, and it's nearly impossible to recognize whether if our parents or our friends have stopped smiling. Now, this is one reason why people face mental disorders. There are obviously many more causes. Some of the most common reasons are peer pressure, loss of loved ones, lack of attention given by family and friends, losing opportunities, or when people lose hope for their future. Now, the ones suffering from mental illnesses are publicly shy. It's quite a challenge for them to accept what they're going through. But you must know one thing. It's okay to say, I'm not okay. Pushing this away will bring it closer. So accept that you're going through mental illness, be it depression or anxiety. There is a slight chance you might know someone who uses the term anxiety, depression, or any other illnesses in a frequent language. For instance, they might say, I know I was depressed earlier, but now I'm happy. What? Depression or mental disorders in general are not feelings that we experience on an everyday basis. And it can't be fully cured with supplements. People lose their energy, appetite, mood, concentration, sleep, and most importantly, self-esteem. This goes way far. Most people attempt to harm themselves unimaginably, and some of them succeed doing that. Some of the most well-known celebrities like 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙪𝙩𝙝, Mac Miller, and the most discussed Bollywood actor Sushant Singh Rajput, they lost their battle to mental health disorders for their reasons. I think this proves how mental health needs to be openly discussed amongst all ages, especially amongst teenagers, because the earlier we learn about this, we are less likely to face them in the coming future. Most people fear opening up about their mental health. They think it's going to make them look sensitive and delicate. However, opening up about your health will make you feel less lonely, and there will be more scope of cure for the illness. And even if you don't have a mental illness, opening up about your health will work like a vaccine. It will prevent illnesses within you. Sanjay Dutt and Deepika Padukone are some who have opened up about their health and outwit their mental illnesses. The National Mental Health Survey of India, which was conducted in 2015 and 2016, says that nearly 150 million Indians need mental health care services. Also, an article from the Diplomat states that the World Health Organization earlier predicted that by 2020, which is this year, roughly 20% of India's population will suffer from mental illnesses, which means more than 200 million people. Now, that was a prediction, but the reality could be different. We might never know the precise amount of people suffering from mental illnesses. Why? Because many unknowingly don't open up about it. Many don't know what it is that they're going through. And this happens because they're not educated about this subject. You may know about this, that mental health and emotions are quite connected. We all have been conditioned to look at negative emotions in the wrong way. So every time we experience it, we tend to push that away. But what if we treat all our negative emotions as our friends, as our well-wishers? Emotions carry either a hidden or an obvious message, all to protect us. To simplify this, let's say the emotion of fear is felt when our safety is compromised, isn't it? So all your emotions are your friends. And breaking up or pushing away these feelings is not going to work because they hit us again. So we would keep pushing negative feelings away and they would keep coming back to us. The more we do this, the harder it gets for us. This results in disorders like depression, maybe anxiety, who knows? Most people have a hard time understanding situations and accepting change. You know why this happens? Because their mindset is not coded to be adaptive. The simplest solution to this problem is by applying the inverse model of thinking. This means looking at things from a reverse perspective. We have a habit of understanding everything from a fixed angle. So changing the angle provides a bigger and a more improved mindset which allows us to be flexible and neutral. What would you say if someone you knew is suffering from a mental disorder? Let's say it's depression. Most would unknowingly tell them to get over it, or would tell them it's not depression, it's just mood swings. It's easy to give in to all this, but it's hard to fight. I wouldn't know how depression feels like, but I can tell a person stops feeling when they're depressed. Finally, the question is how to achieve a better mental health. I would like to draw everyone's attention to the fact that if one has good mental health, there will be no illnesses. How can we achieve it? There are 4 simple steps to follow. Step 1 is acceptance. Your body, your choices, and the reality needs to be accepted. Most people claim to be allergic to change, but they never get better. And this world isn't free of negative pushbacks. So learn how to deal and how to embrace these negative pushbacks. Step 2 is physical health. Keep yourself active and eat well. You must take care of your body. Only then your body will take care of you. Now, for the past many months, we have been less physical and more online, right? So I would strongly recommend everyone to take good care of their physical health. Step 3 is surround yourself with reliable people. When I say reliable, I mean people you have faith in and the ones who make you feel best about yourself. Don't have friends for the sake of having friends. Few friends, but real friends is my social motto. So I would suggest you to step away from the people who make you feel doubtful about yourself. Lastly, step 4 is get yourself busy doing things that you like. This will provide you value for yourself. And naturally, you would set goals towards your ambitions. Doing things that you find of no good is not going to get you love and respect. So, most people think of others first, but sometimes it's also about you. I dedicate my little contribution to spread awareness about mental health to all teenagers who may or may not be at their best state. Everyone will not understand your feelings, and even so, you can withdraw from wrong people, wrong choices, and wrong mindsets. And don't look for the right side, there is no right side. I'd say create your own side. On a sincere note, I thank my dad who coached me how to manage my mental world and to share the art of mindscaping, which is creating a more spacious and a beautiful mind. This TEDx talk is very special for me personally, and I'm sure you would love to carry the message forward. I would be delighted if you remember, apply, and share these techniques. Why? Because trust me, this has power to uplift all of us, the young minds around us, and of course, the Homo sapien future. So, ending this, feel free, open up, kill the disorder and coronavirus, nurture mental health to live long and to live better.
Thank you very much, Sakshi. Next up, we have Agam Mohan. So Agam is an 11th grader from the Doon School, Dehradun, also being a bilingual public speaker, debater, and an activist. Let's hear from him on what he would like to spread to the youth of today. Agam.
Thank you so much, Arjun, for that introduction. In the next 10 minutes or so, during which you will have the honor of hearing my gibberish, two Black American parents will die knowing that their children will live shorter lives than they did. As I speak to you right now, 1 million Black families are out there with no idea whatsoever about where the next meal is going to come from. Let's not kid ourselves. Discrimination is all around us, embedded in the very fabric of our society, yet spoken about only in whispers and murmurs. It's systemic, institutional, and pernicious. Black people today lead worse lives than you or me, or anyone else for that matter. And unfortunately, it's not because Black people have bad karma or because Black people are unskilled. It's because our society has robbed them from the monopoly of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My name is Aga Mohan Singh Bhatia. I'm 16 years old. For the past 6 months, I've been living in the United States. Around me, I've seen the destruction, I've seen protests, violence, and the destruction of human lives and livelihoods. I've had to repeat myself many, many times because I've been told that my accent is not American enough. I've been looked at oddly because I'm too white to be an Indian. Around me, I've seen Black drivers put their hands behind their head when they have no idea what they've actually done. I've seen Black men and women who are afraid to go out alone at night. And it's unfortunate that these aren't just third world problems. All this is happening, and it's happening right here, right now. But somehow, somewhere amidst this violence and chaos, I've realized the beauty in diversity. I've become fascinated with the potential in our individual differences and what we can achieve through that as a society. Somehow, somewhere, I've had a eureka moment. For the last 6 months, I've tried to better lives in my own way. I'm not an expert. I don't have state of the art laboratories, expensive equipment, or the COVID vaccine. I use information, communication, and dialogue as my secret weapons against institutional discrimination. I passionately believe that the power of diversity has a central role in our homes, schools, and workplaces that binds us to the best moments of life. I strongly believe in our individual differences, that each person is unique, that we have our own stories, experiences, and memories, and that it is our prerogative as a society to not only respect such individual diversity, but also to revere it. I want to take this moment to reflect upon how far we've come as a society in tackling discrimination. We have laws today that give black communities the right to vote. For the first time in a long, long time, black people can earn at a level that is far, far better than ever before. Black people have access to good quality education that empowers them to be better individuals, an education that gives them hope for the future, and an education which gives them the agency and the ability to create their own opportunities. Healthcare. Black people today have access to world class health facilities. They can do regular checkups, have proper nutrition, and lead healthier lives than ever before. Now, without a doubt, all this is significant progress. But let's ask ourselves, are laws enough? Are black people safe on our streets? Why are black people still taken out of line exclusively and checked at airports, metro stations, and banks? Why are black people still more likely to be victims of police brutality than you, me, or anyone else? It's because laws aren't enough. They can't be. I like to think of it like this. Imagine your doctor prescribes you a medicine and then you don't take it. What's going to happen? Undoubtedly, your health is going to worsen. I feel society functions similarly. Laws will not work until our society has the right mindset and the right mentality to allow them to. Our imperceptible biases play a primal role in whatever decisions we take. That's why passively following laws is not enough. Consciously and actively countering our biases is. The scale of this problem and the deeply entrenched stigma around it is unimaginable. The desire to voice this frustration led me to initiate a campaign that calls for change, questions the deep rooted biases surrounding Black people, and spreads communal positivity. And so, Abhivyakti was born. Abhivyakti, which translates to individual expression, conveys the message that we want to spread through this campaign, the beauty of the individual. Why? Because how could something that makes us us be anything less than beautiful? But how did we do this? We started with an environment that we were most familiar with, the walls of our classroom. Instead of plainly explaining diversity to children from textbook or YouTube videos, we took an innovative approach. We conducted activities where students tried to play around with the colors of the Rubik's Cube. And we showed them how each of the colors in the cube are equally important and contribute to a larger whole, much like what individuals do for a society. We simulated environments in the form of small skits and fun board games where black and white students could interact and practice soft skills of hard work and of teamwork and communication. And through this, we not only illustrated the beauty of diversity in a manner that was informative, but we also engaged them and made this information much more accessible. We didn't stop there though. We had internal conversations where both black and white boys and girls could freely talk about their experiences, share what they felt, and ask dumb questions without being frowned upon. Through this, we realized that white people were able to confront and eventually overcome their awkwardness and talk about it amongst their own friend circles as well. As we realized, dialogue and discourse not only heal but upgrade society. Enhancing soft skills led us to combating hard problems. But before we did all of this, we had to conduct extensive research, interview social psychologists, survey people to gauge public opinion on Black communities. From there began our journey to create change. Through technology, we created friendly user interfaces where we simulated real world scenarios and conversations. These could be meeting a Black individual in school, on the streets, or in workplaces. In the process, we encouraged positivity among these children and helped them experience the value of diversity. We went to beaches on the weekend to help teach diversity through building sandcastles or even playing beach ball or volleyball. In whatever we did, we strive to think outside the box, go beyond the norm and break barriers that currently constrain and restrict our society. Abhivyakti still has a long way to go, and we hope all your support takes us there even further. But I want to ask this: does societal change come so easily? At one of the schools we visited, we encountered a girl who had been bullied in her class for being black. Take a moment and imagine being that girl. Imagine being her sitting in class, uneasy and uncomfortable, afraid to ask questions, afraid to talk to the person next to her, powerless and in despair. Imagine being that girl who then goes to her home, asks her parent asks her parents what's wrong with her, and inquires why she's been shunned from society, shunned from a classroom, and by extension from society as well. Imagine the shame, fear, and embarrassment that comes with being who you are, with living a life of perpetual ignorance and silence at the cost of your own identity. Which means that while we do our part, endeavors like ours will well and truly be successful if each one of you today appreciates the beauty of oneself and spreads the message forward that it's okay to be different. You can help to encourage diversity by being more open in conversations with your friends and family, by donating and supporting to both local and international organizations. Every small step counts because keeping this under the hood sustains ignorance, school bullying, absenteeism, and so much more. I remember when I grew up in India, I was fortunate enough to be brought up in a culture of diversity where I was taught secularism. I was taught that there is unity in diversity and that we are all different in our own unique way. I was taught that the voluntary service of food, or langar, does not discriminate upon who gets the food and who serves it. These ideas today, these ideas have shaped who I am today. And I wish that one day I can spread this message forward to uplift hearts and souls around me. I wish that we as a society can reach a point where we can appreciate and revere the beauty and freedom of the individual. I wish that we can reach a point where we can proudly and individually celebrate Abhivakti. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Agam, for sharing your enriching experience with all of us here today. Next up, we have 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙪𝙠𝙠. 𝙏𝙀𝙿𝙭 is a political polemic. She's the founder of Project 𝙏𝙀, who is a social initiative aimed at empowering underprivileged girls. She has conducted research on statecraft during periods of war, in peacemaking, and on the influence of ethics in international affairs. Please welcome 𝙏𝙀𝙿𝙭.
Thank you so much, Arjun. World peace. World peace and world peace. Doesn't it sound familiar? Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and yes, indeed, we've all heard this phrase over and over again. But the million-dollar question is, what is this world peace and how do we define it? Is peace the guarantee that China and America will shake hands? Well, if that is your definition of peace, then I, for one, do not see peace in the near future. Is peace owning a Lamborghini? Is peace merely the end of violence, or is it something more? Well, personally, peace is all of the above. The emancipation of human insecurities in a broad sense. So if peace is summarized as such, then what is the problem in ensuring successful peace-building efforts through conflict-ridden regions? It's not like we don't know what peace means. Then why do we falter? Why is it that we have scenarios like Afghanistan and Kosovo, wherein no matter how hard the state and non-state actors try, sustainable peace is always a distant dream? And the answer is quite direct, actually. They forget the people. Now, in the process of implementing what they think will confer peace, these actors forget the importance of the people enclosed in the boundary of the state in question. They forget the importance of people when answering the ethical questions of peace building, namely which type of peace, who is peace, and how peace. To sum it all up, they forget to construct a sustainable peace through the prism of human security. Now, what is human security, you may ask? Well, after doing some research and reading under a couple of pioneers in this field, I've come to understand human security as this intricately woven concept encompassing the freedom from fear, want, and indignity. It targets the people and believes that to maintain a successful peace-building effort, the general public's beliefs and perceptions must confer a popular legitimacy onto the state. The public must remain in sync with all endeavors to improving the condition of their society. And it is for this reason that human security answers the question, what type of peace, by aiming to eliminate the public's fear, eliminate the public's want, and eliminate the public's indignity, thus emphasizing on the provision of security to the people whose insecurities are most at stake. And then this is definitely pleasing or accounting for the wishes of any external actor. Ladies and gentlemen, this means that failed states are so because they cannot exercise their primary function of social protection, hence failing in their duty to protect, provide for, and empower their citizens. According to me, then the state should therefore protect the survival, livelihood, and dignity of the population while ensuring that it can provide for and safeguard the general public's larger expectations. And then the state must most definitely place these aims above the existence, nature, and power of the state itself. Concerning the second question, how peace? I believe human security emphasizes the empowerment of the people. That is, transforming them into agents of change, protecting them, and providing welfare. As suggested by the amazing Professor 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙫, to attain a sustainable peace, the state should avoid short-term military or policing solutions and should instead resort to a long-term comprehensive strategy that combines protection, the provision of welfare, and emancipation. The state should hence focus on the strategies of economic growth that are inclusive of the income distribution, equity, and enhanced freedom, so crucial to the idea of human security. Now, by following these strategies, the state would be able to achieve human security through the prism of human development, which would therefore lead to the enhancement of the public's capabilities and functioning. Now, this betterment in the people's capabilities and functioning, who are the resources, would consequently establish and maintain a sustainability in the concept of the state's functioning, which forms an essential component of the state's security, hence constituting to a successful peace-building effort. Furthermore, alongside the empowerment of the people, I believe that to some extent, the human security approach also details the importance of a departure from considering liberal democracies as a precondition to peace. Now, yes, even though the model of a liberal peace may be efficient, the public must be maintained not only as subjects, no, but as peace-building aims. And to ensure this, the peace building needs to center around the underlying norms of the local population, the idea that the public's involvement in the design and implementation is paramount, and finally, a sense that the public and only the public should be the direct beneficiaries of the intervention. Consequently, a successful peace-building effort from the human security point of view, of course, then depends on the consensus surrounding the validity of the peace-building models by the local population, mind you, and also their reception of the results of the peace-building endeavor. Now, unfortunately, and very unfortunately indeed, in most conflict-ridden regions, this was one factor which has been largely amiss. For example, in Afghanistan, as I previously mentioned, one might note the tenacious efforts of the British and Allied forces on the ground who struggled valiantly indeed, for instance, to bring peace to the Helmand province. But there, and the Afghan people have paid a terrible, terrible price for a lack of clarity and candor on the part of the politicians who sent them there. The people were ignored and their needs were pushed back, hence making them the perfect prey for terrorist infestations. Thus, and I repeat, rather unfortunately, contributing to Afghanistan's failure as a state. Finally, human security answers the question, what type of peace, by stressing the importance of a peace that responds to the emancipation from insecurities in everyday life. So yes, definitely paying attention to the broader spectrum of things, but also narrowing down and focusing on the minuscule details that plague human life. Through the lens of human security, every insecurity, be it threats to survival or functional threats to livelihood, or even threats to dignity, are just as imperative to protect as the other. Furthermore, it also affirms the fact that all threats and insecurities are interlinked and interdependent. Hence, to ensure a successful peace-building effort, a sort of connection must be sought between all insecurities in a manner that the intervention in one domain transcends into a multitude of positive externalities. Hence, to me at least, the human security approach proposes the idea of peace as a wholesome emancipation from insecurity, with no insecurity ever, and I repeat, ever gaining a priority over the other. To conclude, if we want peace, if we really want the phrase world peace to materialize, then states must adopt the policy of human security. Peace building should center around the people because at the end, the state is its people. If the people are unhappy, then, ladies and gentlemen, the state is indeed a failed institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kushmita, for that speech. We totally agree with your viewpoint. Coming up next, we have R.R. Janvi. So Janvi is an 11th grader at the Indian Public School, Chennai. She is a girl who strongly believes that every problem comes with a solution, and we just need to have the eye to see it. So she feels that fear, one of the biggest threats we are all facing during this pandemic, can in fact become our courage. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's watch her speak and find out how. Janvi.
Thank you, Arjun. A very good afternoon to all of you here. I'm going to begin today by asking you all a simple question. Does a deer run faster than a tiger? Most of us guess no, don't we? But the truth is, a deer, a ruminant animal, does run faster than a tiger. In fact, a deer can run almost twice as fast as a tiger. Yet, every time on a hunt, who wins? Isn't it the tiger? Isn't it the tiger who always catches his prey? Isn't it the tiger who always succeeds? But why? Why does the tiger always win even though the deer is so much faster? Why can the deer never escape? Well, the answer to that is simply these 4 letters. F-E-A-R. Fear. You see, every time the deer runs, it turns back, looking at the tiger in fear. And every time the deer turns back in fear, the tiger jumps 1 step in front. The deer is so afraid that it can't help but turn back and look how far behind the tiger is. But what the deer fails to realize is that every time the deer lets fear turn its head around, it is forced to slow down. And this ultimately causes it to lose its life and ultimately allows the tiger win. In reality, the deer is just like us, and the tiger is like the hurdles that we constantly face. Just like the deer, we too have been afraid many times in many instances in our lives. I still remember the first time I was scared. It was my first day of school. I remember gripping tightly onto my mother's palms, refusing to let go, with tears trickling down my cheeks. I was scared. I was scared of that sudden new change. 15 years later, I can feel that same fear daunting me again, for I realize that I have to soon walk on my own 2 feet. I feel scared at times. I'm afraid my training wheels will be removed off my bike. I'm scared I will run into something. I'm scared of this coming new change. Ladies and gentlemen, even today, now, as I speak before all of you here, my toes are tingling with excitement, but my shoes, they're trembling with fear. My voice, trying to catch that confidence just so it can sound loud and strong, is in fact shivering inside. For it's scared. For I'm scared. I'm scared I'll use the wrong words. I'm scared I'll stammer. I'm scared that fear will stop me, silence me. The simple word scared sometimes gets locked into the walls of our minds. No matter what turn we take, it always seems to be there. It constantly resonates through our minds. Soon, as the days pass by, this fear seems to lock us in and turn us the wrong way around. Fear is something that's always around us. It's always accompanied us. Think about it. Think about the times you were afraid. Was it on your first visit to the doctor? Or was it on your first interview? Was it filled in that adrenaline rush as you stood behind the start line of your first race? Or was it in fact during all of these? Fear was always there, wasn't it? It was there in our days at school, and it is there amidst our days in COVID. Fear seems to be in every situation, so much that it seems impossible to get rid of, doesn't it? But what if you didn't need to get rid of this fear? What if instead of constantly trying to get rid of this fear, you try to channel it? We try to channel it in the right direction. You see, if the deer didn't let fear turn it the wrong way around, if the deer turned the fear into a reminder that turning around will only cause it to fall victim to the hungry, angry tiger, the deer would probably still be alive, now wouldn't it? Similarly, instead of letting the fear of this pandemic frighten us, what if we let it be a reminder? A reminder that we aren't bigger than nature. A reminder of the wonders we might lose if we continue our way. A reminder of the change that we must work to bring for a better future. Now the fear doesn't seem so scary anymore, does it? You see, fear in our lives is like the friction on our car drives. We've always seen friction as a stopping force. For too much friction can leave our car motionless. But think about it. Isn't friction equally a driving force? Now imagine driving a car on a road with absolutely no friction. Wouldn't your car just slide away in the wrong direction? So in reality, friction isn't completely the stopping force. We don't need to completely get rid of it. Instead, we must simply ensure we have the right amount of it and channel it so that this friction can become that driving force that channels us in the right direction. In the same way, I believe that fear can be both the stopping force and the driving force. Too much fear can destroy our strength, leaving us motionless. But too little fear will simply drive us in the wrong direction. See, the world around us is changing day by day in many ways we could have never imagined. Will to last may have been a popular mantra then, but will to adapt is the mantra that will lead us to success now. We need to learn to adapt, cope with the changes around us. And if these changes bring fear, then we must learn to prevent this fear from stopping us. We must learn to channel this fear. We must be the master of this fear and turn it into the force that will only drive us forward. Then this fear will no longer be the harm that scares us, but it will be the reminder to better us. So ladies and gentlemen, today, as I speak before all of you here, I no longer see the fear of this pandemic as a threat. I no longer feel this fear will lead to alarming times. And I no longer think that this fear will destroy us. For I believe when channelized in the right direction, this fear can be that reminder, that driving force that only pushes us to make better our today, tomorrow, and every day after. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janvi. Next up, we have also not the last, but not the least, also we are absolutely honored to have Dr. 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙪𝙩𝙝. He is the headmaster of one of India's finest schools, which is the 𝙏𝙀𝙿 School. He is also a veteran educationist and an awarded academician with over 3 decades experience in holistic K-12 of education and school leadership. He is a member of the Headmasters and Headmistresses Conference UK. He has a rich experience of 27 years in the field of education and administration, not only in India, but also overseas. He's taught in Eton College, UK, wherein he participated in various sports, tournaments, and cultural activities. He's been conferred with an honorary doctorate for his exemplary services in education of his missionary zeal towards society at a convocation held at Malaysia in May 2014. He's the recipient of prestigious awards such as 𝙏𝙀𝘿𝙭𝙭𝙪𝙩𝙝 Award, Best Principal Performance Award, Asia Pacific Achievers Award, Rajiv Gandhi Education Excellence Award, Best Teacher Award by Government of Rajasthan, to name a few. He's also served as Joint Director, Sport IPSC Representative of IPSC in CISCE 2011, and is also currently on board of various schools and management committees. Please join in with me in welcoming Dr. 𝙏𝙀𝙭𝘭𝙪𝙩𝙝. Sir.
My greetings to all on this wonderful platform. It gives me so much of pleasure to hear the young minds. When I was in this particular hour, listening to Sakshi, listening to Agam Mohan, listening to Kushmita, and listening to Janvi, I thank Arpit for actually having me at the last. My God. These young dynamic leaders, thank God I was chosen to summarize and to come in the last, because I would have made myself so dwarf in front of these great leaders of today. Not only I get inspired when I look at these young men and the young girls, I also feel proud of the fact the globe and my country are so safe. We are leaving them in the hands of these responsible young leaders. While contemplating in the morning, what would I do? How would I start? And you made my job a little more difficult when I heard all the 4 speakers. I was making my own plan. How would I start my talk? And suddenly, I was reminded of a very highly successful book, 𝙀𝙀𝘿, A Brief History of Mankind, a brief history of humankind. You would be surprised what has this engrossing read by Yuval Noah Harari to do with my talk. The very gist of this book that we evolved from 𝙀𝙀𝘿, and the underlying fact that man is a social animal, prompted me not to miss out on mentioning this book. Ever since these 𝙀𝙀𝘿s in isolation and aloof. Since March 2020, what has the world looked like? The very essence of human touch and presence of physical beings almost vanished. Confined to enclosed spaces in own homes, attending long day virtual meetings on the platform like this made us face the brunt of being in isolation. And consequently, we lost a great deal of what made us the humans, distinctive from other species. Heightened anxiety, hopelessness, insomnia, sadness has been sadly seen in every generation, right from toddler to an old. Restaurants and public places of recreation on reopening have been thronged by people, not because the COVID fear is over, but because each one of us has craved endlessly to be surrounded by evolved 𝙀𝙀𝘿𝑚. The very magical touch of human laughter interacting in person has begun to sweep away from the gloominess which has engulfed our lives for almost a year now. But the uncertainty looms large. And this brings me to the fact that the mental health and its well-being has been brushed under the carpet for a very long time. And now we need to bring it back on the table. Do whatever makes you happy. Surround yourself with people who inspire, who can see the difference. We all have grown up listening to that story of monkey and the cap seller. What did we learn from that? We learned from that monkeys are the best in imitating. That means we learn by what we see and not what we say, or what we are told rather than what we are seeing. In simple meaning, we learn by walk your talk. There's a very wrong conception which has been developed. Mental health is the absence of mental disorder, whereas mental health is not the absence of mental disorder. It is holistic well-being. Need to look after ongoing wellness and happiness. Two words which are very, very important and which are the keys to success are happiness and joy. If these two words are missing, there is no learning. And if there's no learning, because there is not right in emotional state, we need to get back to the core of the problem. But before we do that, we must understand what are the factors which are influencing the well-being. Physical, psychological, social, cognitive, emotional. But there are protective factors such as skills, resources, strengths. Now, when I'm asked to say how do in Chandbagh at the Doon School, we counterattack this. Well, there are plenty. I was very happy when Kushmita said, we are only talking about well-being in mental, but more important is physical, because in today's time, when we are isolated and there is more of a social and physical distancing, we need to keep in consideration the physical aspect also along with the mental aspect. The culture at the Doon School naturally provides these protective factors. With dedicated wellness, there's a wellness team and there are counselors. A very recently conceptualized club which has come up called the Mind Club for holistic well-being with increased student engagement. And let me tell you, girls and boys, this is the Mind Club, which is by the children, for the children, and of the children. The very essence is democratic. Another very important aspect of what I want to really put into the floor here to think is the wonderful relationship between the teacher and the student in the Doon School. I'm here to make a remark that this is a bond which remains for lifelong. Every teacher is a mentor, is an informal counselor, is a friend, is a guide, which is visible in the tutorial system, what we have in the school. These tutorials which are in the classrooms, houses, fields, the comfort and openness with which the child can communicate with his teachers adds to the ethos of a healthy school. Nature plays a very important role. Nature is a positive influence on well-being. And all those who have seen the Chand Bagh and the beautiful organic campus, the boys here are in a close association with nature, both on the campus and off the campus. Off the campus, when they go for midterms or they go for the treks, etc., this contributes to the overall well-being and resilience. Another aspect what I see in the Doon School is the student-student bonding, a brotherhood, camaraderie. That is another emotional buffer and protective factor. Something seemingly as small as masters having meals with the boys. It also engulfs a lot of strong bonding and influence on the child's mind. Much of the learning in the Doon School happens with observation. More than the classroom learning, the learning is actually outdoors. I always say, what a child in the Chand Bagh learns in the classroom is 20%, but what he really learns, that is how to live and how to demonstrate how he has been raised. 80% is in learning is outside the classroom. Mental health, physical health. When you are strong, and that's what I keep talking about, the resilience shown by the young minds in this difficult era, adds to the leadership. And that's what is taught in the Doon School leadership program. I mark the words of the founder headmaster of the Doon School. To attract and develop exceptional boys and teachers from all backgrounds to serve a meritocratic India. Transform boys into educated men. Inspire them to be just and ethical citizens. Train them to be wise and principled leaders. And prepare them to enter one of the strongest fraternities for life. This is the very purpose and the very way and the way of life a DOSCO is raised in the Doon School. A plenty of initiatives have been taken where leaderships are concerned in Chand Bagh. A long process to find out the right attributes to the leadership. Today, when I was hearing the young minds speak their heart out, I'm in no doubt at all. And let me tell you, the success mantra for any leader lies in effective communication, which was evident from the fact the young girls and boys demonstrated. Not only they were backed up by a content, but excellent communication skills. This is what TEDx gives you a platform. I must congratulate MAMS for having given this opportunity to the children to showcase not only their talent and their oratory skills, but to give them a platform to voice their opinion, to voice their minds. With this, I'd just like to conclude by congratulating all the speakers of today who addressed us, educated us, and made us more wiser than what we were before. Wish you all the good luck, and may you take our country and the globe from glory to glory. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, sir. And I surely hope that your speech has inspired a lot of people who are watching us today from all over the world. Thank you once again for joining in with us, sir. It's an honor to have you. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of this event. The journey of innovation does not end here. MAMS is steadfast in building 21st century skills in students across India. Atal Tinkering Lab at MAMS, in collaboration in 2 other ATLs from different states, has come up with a unique platform where all students can come and gain knowledge and get inspired to innovate. We have a small video presentation of the same. We request all of you to check the same, sit back and enjoy. Thank you very much. We have another short video lined up, especially for the communication specialists who worked upon speeches of each one of us to make it the perfect and presentable one. At last, we'd like to acknowledge the team who has been tirelessly putting in efforts day and night since the past months to make this event a grand and a huge one. Thank you very much. I'd once again like to thank each one of you for being part of our success and our aim in trying to make the world a better place by innovating it through the untouched ideas and initiatives of these young minds, trying to raise their voices for such global issues. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being such a patient and gentle audience, and hope that you all got inspired to innovate. Thank you very much.